Today we are talking about the best game from 2025, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the word of the community of the room and board Deathmatch. That's right. We pitted these 31 games against each other, and the community voted, and we're going to tell you which ones you don't need to worry about from last year, and which ones maybe deserve the hype and maybe deserve your viewership or patronage. Kind of like the Room and Board Discord. Me and my patrons have been voting on this. Well, my patrons have. I don't get to vote. They don't let me. They push me down whenever I try to vote. They kick me in the teeth. That's why I don't have teeth anymore. This is all AI. Room and Board Pro AI 2026. But yeah, they're all voting on all of these games, and only the winner will win. So let's get going right now and talk about them. Starting with Core of Discovery, or Corpse of Discovery if you're nasty, taking on the Voynich puzzle. As always, I'm going to describe the games a little bit for you all so you can know what's up. Core of Discovery, which just had its Kickstarter, its reprint campaign, so if you're interested in getting the full big box, they were offering the full big box campaign, is like cooperative Sudoku deduction. You're going to have a different scenario depending upon how many expansions you have. The core one comes with like fighting monsters or exploring the realm, but you're making your way through a unique map. They have like 5 to 10 maps of different maps that you just put one in randomly, where each map will have some sort of deductive quality about its pieces. So you'll know that if there's a rock, there will always be a water by a rock in an orthogonally adjacent setting. And you have to go across, find, complete whatever the scenario is by uncovering the map and deducing the map and not wasting time uncovering the wrong things that you don't want on that map. The Voynich puzzle is a game that I was pretty interested in, and I'm still interested in because I don't know how it's all going to work. It's a series of tubes and interconnected mini games where you are striving to complete one main Voynich manuscript. You can see the board is broken down. Oh, that's a very big zoom in sort of 6 spaces. So there will be a kind of plant mini game where you're going up and extending out and getting different bonuses for the plants. There'll be a star mini game where you are kind of circling the cosmos and dealing with the constellations in that regard. A water mini game where things happen downstream, and you're all sort of contributing to this main puzzle where you're adding pieces of the puzzle, the Voynich manuscript, as you're uncovering it, and you're going to get points for the pieces of the puzzle that you are able to unlock and sort of where they are in terms of what you invest in. It seemed interesting to me, both in a sort of discovery aspect style. The other interesting part about this is basically you get to upgrade your action. This is a fancy way for upgrading your actions. You can start with just doing one green action, and then you'll flip the card, and the manuscript will develop as you go through, and you'll get to do kind of 2 green actions is the basis of that. Between these two, I personally am more interested in the Voynich manuscript, and by the Voynich puzzle. Core Discovery never really drew me in, but that also makes sense because it's the same company that makes Mind Management, and that's also a game that didn't really pull me in, even though a ton of people love it. But yeah, both seem interesting, but obviously the community hates my guts, and it's Core of Discovery that moves forward in a 18-6 vote. We're going to keep moving on with the Anarchy taking on Shallow Sea. The Anarchy is sort of a spiritual successor to Hadrian's Wall, kind of by the same company and team, and you can see that as you zoom in, a big complicated roll and write. Now, not complicated necessarily in terms of rules, but complicated in the amount of stuff that you can do as you are building your own wall system, this little system over here, to protect against various invasions. So like Hadrian's Wall, you're going to chain things together, but really focusing a little bit more on that castle defense and that wall and that protection aspect, whereas Hadrian's Wall was just kind of combo things, and if you lost the attack, you lost the attack. It wasn't that big of a deal. Now, Shallow Sea is what I would sort of envision as Bad Comet's take on Cascadia or Calico or any one of these sort of dual tile laying types of games. You will have a number of tiles and you'll have a number of fish, and you will draft them together. So you would get a tile and a fish. And then you put the fish on the tile, in between the tiles rather, trying to score different conditions. When a tile, I think, is completely surrounded, you flip over that tile and then it becomes home for that specific type of fish. Because you can see when you're drafting this, there was like, hey, you want a orange fish up top and a yellow fish down below. And when you flip it over, you'll get to put the orange fish on that and score the points, right? So you're trying to do these dual tile laying things as you also get points for a various amount of other sea creatures. Both of these look good. To me, I quite enjoyed Hadrian's Wall. Not so much that like I gravitate to it a million times on Board Game Arena, because it is on Board Game Arena. I wasn't really considering that much, and so it didn't really pull me in that much. And so because Hadrian's Wall, I didn't develop a severe addiction to Hadrian's Wall, I am less inclined about the Anarchy because it does feel very familiar in that sense. But I think those who like combos and who like roll and writes would like this a lot. Shallow Sea is one that, I mean, I think Bad Comet has been doing a lot of really good games. They have put out a bunch of things that people have enjoyed out of their catalog. I've just tried Life of the Amazonia, which I refer to as Quackscadia, which is mine. I came up with that. Only me. That's it. That's me. That's nobody else's. I didn't steal that from anyone. But this, yeah, it seems interesting. Seems fun. Seems like Cascadia. I don't know. I like combos a lot. No, this is a close vote, too. It's really close between the two. It's 14-13. I haven't played either of these. If I had to think of the one that I would be the most interested in playing, it would probably be Shallow Sea over the Anarchy, although I think I would like the complexity of the Anarchy over Shallow Sea, but I think, I don't know, the streamlined nature of it, I think it seems slick. And it is Shallow Sea that is the one that moves forward in a 14-13 vote. So I'm 1-1. I'm 1-1 on the community. Let's see how I keep on going. This next one's going to be interesting because it's Vantage taking on Flamecraft Duels. So Vantage is a very interesting game because I know I probably would hate it. And it's from Stonemaier, and it's this sort of big, vast, continent exploring style game. Now, I have been permanently traumatized by my time with Seventh Continent that I cannot endure any vast open world game where it seems like you could be aimless. But I know other people have really enjoyed this as well. I think this is one of those games which is going to be really polarizing. You're either going to really like it or you don't. You land on a planet, you explore some tiles, you go on a choose your own adventure and see what happens. People were saying that games of Vantage conclude before anything really interesting happens. Yeah, Peter was saying once in a while you get something cool, but it never feels like there's an important time to use it. I see that there's some info about the world that you can try to remember for future games, but I don't care enough and haven't seen anything that would indicate that the juice would be worth the squeeze. But this one is very close. It still is a very close game. It's facing off against Flamecraft Duels. Flamecraft Duels is another little mini abstract game that is going to capitalize on people's love of Flamecraft. Most of the pictures on BGG are just the art, which the art is friggin' beautiful. But essentially what will happen is you're going to be drawing cards, you're going to try to be completing these orders, and you will draw tiles, and each tile is a dragon, and you'll put the dragon down, and each dragon can do something special. You're trying to create the patterns of the cards in your hand, so you want those kind of in a row, etc. As you play this small little abstract puzzle, it seems interesting. It seems certainly more interesting than Vantage does to me. A lot of people were trying to get both of these games burnt and out of the competition so that a new challenger could approach, but that's not the case. That only received 9 votes. The final vote comes down to 13-12, and I am once again in the masses. If we're playing green team wins, I'm on the green team, baby. And it is Flamecraft Duels that knocks Vantage out of the competition in a very, very close 13-12 vote. Now, if you're taking umbrage with any of these results or moving forward, well, you can always sign up for the Room and Board Patreon, and that's how you can vote for these things. We do it every day over on the Patreon. And if not, then that's fine, because eventually I get to these videos, even if sometimes I forget them. But we're moving on. We're moving on to Steam Power taking on the Old King's Crown. Now, Steam Power is a game that I covered both of these on Crowdfunding Countdown, so I've read through the rulebooks of both of these once upon a time, and Steam Power is one that I was very close in pulling the trigger on. It's a streamlined, simplified 18xx game, which basically means you put your trains down. That's all you do. You're putting your trains down and you're trying to connect to various locations on the board to deliver goods on the board. You're grabbing these contracts. You can do sort of 5 things on your turn. You're grabbing these contracts. So yeah, I thought Steam Power looked really, really neat. And it also has a fun, stupid little mini expansion, which is like Cat Power. So you can do Steam Power, Cat Power, where you just have the trains, the same things, but you're delivering it on a cat land. That's it. This is a big old Catland, which I think is very funny. Old King Crown, though, is Old King Crown. You heard me. I said it. Is one that people have been talking about a lot. There's been a lot of buzz around that. I almost played it, but then we played something better instead. It is true. We did play something better. We played Attack on Titan, the deck building game, not the other something better. But yeah, Old King's Crown, I remember reading through the rulebook, and I remember being very underwhelmed by it. I remember thinking, yeah, this is fine. And it seems like it should be something that I would like, because there are essentially these 3 lands, these 3 sort of sectors, and you're playing cards to have influence in those sectors, as far as I can recall. And your cards will, be sneaky, they'll be face down, you'll have some revealing, but like, the production aspect around the game, I think for me, it just felt like a really large production aspect versus what you're actually doing seems very small, versus something like Steam Power seems like what you're doing is small, but the production itself like scales really well to that. Like, it doesn't feel like it's trying to do anything other than what it's saying it will do. People are saying that it's one of those you need to play it 5-6 times to get it, so to speak. And I can see the benefit of like, there's going to be a lot of screwage in Old King's Crown if your group knows each other enough, which I should like. Like, I like that sort of playing politics aspect that happens. And so even though there was some love for Steam Power, it is Old King's Crown that moves forward in a 16-14 vote. I'm trying to go a little bit quicker on these descriptions. I know sometimes I wax poetic, and I want to make this one really snappy. So let me know if I needed to go into more detail about these games or not. Next up, we have Sweetlands taking on Puerto Rico, 1897, the special edition from Awakened Realms. So Sweetlands is one that I thought looked really neat. It's by Uchibakoya Games, and you are building out your own special buildings on your own special map. Basically, let's see if there's a zoom out of the boards. Yeah, that'll do. So you can see everybody's playing area has their own board with their own buildings, and then their own map that they're going to be putting those buildings on. So you have this very sort of heads down solo experience. The main conflict of the game comes from this main board where you will have these different action spaces. You can see there's like 3 spots for each action space, and that'll depend upon player count as well. And you will be placing your little discs down. Everybody has a number of different discs that represent the actions that they can take on a round to do different things. These are resource conversions, these are building buildings, and then the buildings need to be placed in a certain way so that they score in a certain way. It seems beautiful. It's a very big production in terms of the amount of wood that is actually in the box. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. I'm excited about Puerto Rico Special Edition because I have always really enjoyed Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was one of those games that I played early on in my board gaming journey, as I'm sure a lot of people did. I played Catan. Catan was my gateway game into the hobby. And then shortly after that, I played Puerto Rico, and I saw, oh my goodness, the strategy here is amazing. It introduced me to one of my favorite mechanisms, the follow mechanism. I think the production value of Puerto Rico is way, like this special edition is way overblown. I do like that they have gone with the 1897 theme, which is a re-theming by, oh man, what's his last name? Jason, my mind wants to say Jason Mendoza, and I know that's from The Good Place. Perez? Oh yeah, Jason Perez, who was pretty much very responsible for a lot of the implementations in converting Puerto Rico to a sort of less colonizer viewpoint, essentially, that like, some people have taken issue with the theme that you're getting workers off boats and sending them to plantations to get you corn and coffee and that sort of stuff, and then sending those goods to America, presumably, right? Like, and so in this, in Puerto Rico 1897, it kind of puts like the theming puts more independence in Puerto Rico. And honestly, the art's way better, so it should be the just default one that you get anyway, even if those sorts of issues don't matter to you. But I know that in this reimagining, he felt like he was mistreated by the company, the publisher, etc. I know all this backstory, so it kind of like colors my view of Puerto Rico. However, I think Puerto Rico has been around for a long time, and if we're just talking about like based on the gameplay aspect of it, it's very cool to get a new edition, except we already had a new edition beforehand that just had a bunch of production issues that they never fixed, and then they went for this big deluxeified new edition, which costs a lot of money. I don't know. all of that stuff aside, I am still personally excited to get a copy. I've contacted Awakened Realms, and I have now started communicating in terms of they'll send me copies for review copies of stuff, and this is one that I specifically requested because I'm interested to see like the expansions, because I've never played with the expansions, and how much it differs from just like the regular Puerto Rico, which for 90% of gamers would be fine and probably the way to go. And this would probably take up too much shelf space. But I'm willing to see like what the deluxifications add, even for somebody who doesn't particularly need deluxifications in their game, even though they enjoy them. Anyway, all that to say is Puerto Rico is a great game. It's a fantastic game. However, it's not necessarily a new game. It's been around for a while, and it was a unanimous vote for Sweetlands, partly because Sweetlands is a good game, and partly because people in my community don't like when other people are mistreated. I still think Puerto Rico is a great, fantastic system, and it has one of my favorite mechanisms in board gaming, the follow mechanism, but clearly you don't need the special edition. But I still am excited to kind of get it and see it. I don't know. So it's Sweetlands that moves on in a unanimous 23-0 vote. Dragon Eclipse is our next one, taking on Nemesis Retaliation. We have 2 more additions from Awakened Realms. Dragon Eclipse is Pokemon the board game, is essentially what it is. You're going on a little magical journey. You're taking your little pocket Pokemon, like Galumbo over here, and going on a little adventure. My buddy Zach played through this a lot, and has regaled me with all of his game sessions. He bought it and has been playing through the campaign solo, and I covered a lot of that in the 5 Reasons You Shouldn't Back the new version of Dragon Eclipse, and just his personal thoughts in terms of how it is moving forward. But it's a fun time if you got kids, and it's like a 2-player co-op adventure. You can go on, you can tame some mistlings, is what they're called, the non-Pokemon. Yeah, a cute enough game. It's taking on Nemesis Retaliation, which was my #1 sort of anticipated crowdfunding game when it came out. It is now out, and I've played it with Zach, with the incredible insert that Hextra has created, and it didn't sort of deliver on what I hoped it would deliver. What I hoped it would deliver would be something that is drastically different from the other Nemesis experiences, and give you sort of like a more exploratory game where there's hordes of monsters trying to take you out, and you're just like mowing them down like Zombicide, right? That really you have a lot more power. For me, this game felt like 80% Nemesis, and having already had 2 versions of Nemesis, the 80% of Nemesis I don't know, it's not bad. I still like Nemesis. I think it's a fun game, and I like the oxygen mechanism of it. That was definitely a draw, but it didn't really meet my expectations in terms of my expectations were just wrong, or it shifted in development, that it was going to be this sort of Zombicide-esque style of game where you can take down a lot more aliens, and it didn't feel as much like that. Now, Zach has since played also more than the base aliens. He's played through all the content, and he finds the base aliens to be the worst ones, which is a bit unfortunate, and that the other aliens to be a lot more interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of good things that's going on with Nemesis, but not enough to differ it from the other Nemesis games. However, it is still Nemesis, and Nemesis is still good, so it is Nemesis Retaliation that beats Dragon Eclipse and moves on in a 12-9 vote. We had a lot of people pushing to burn both of them. It didn't succeed. Nemesis managed to overcome those, but yeah, moves on into the next round. Next up, we have Speakeasy taking on Regicide Legacy. So Speakeasy is the latest game from Vital Lacerda. If you're familiar with Vital Lacerda, he's known for these very large, expensive games. You're not going to find one for less than $100. Lots of pieces, lots of interworkings, a big, chunky, complex Euro game where things are interacting. People were saying that this one is the most sort of thematic out of the ones that they've tried. The only Vital Lacerda that I have played is the Gallerist, but the sort of common theme about Speakeasy is that it is good with the theme. It's less abstract than the other ones, and that helps give you a little bit more purchase in terms of figuring out how to play the game. And basically that can help define what you can do on your turn. You're building up places where you can sell whiskey, right? You are avoiding the cops, which will be at locations and make those locations more difficult to activate. You have to move your alcohol around the board and move your people around the board and sort of influence and throw your weight around to take out somebody. It seems like a fun game. It's taking on Regicide Legacy, which I have played a scenario of. In fact, I've played the broken scenario 6, which if you are playing Regicide Legacy, well, there is an errata on scenario 6 because it's too hard. But I really enjoyed playing it, and I really enjoyed playing it at that difficulty. And I'd never played Regicide Legacy before, or Regicide in general. So it was kind of an exciting thing to dive into, and I'm very happy you got to play it. Basically, you'll have a hand of cards, and you're playing these cards to take out a big bad boss monster in the middle. You want to sort of, your value needs to equal up to that, but each one of the cards that you play, depending upon the suit that it's associated with, will allow you to do different things. Some defend against damage, some deal double damage, some allow you to draw cards, which is the only way you can draw cards, which you need to play the game. Some allow you to move cards from your trash, your discard pile, back into the deck. So it gives you a little bit more cycle as you try to take out these people. And so the flow of this is really fun. And then Regicide Legacy adds in new card suits, new additional modes on how to play. I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed it, and I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. And so I think the votes, when I put them down, might have gotten a bit screwed up. I think a lot more people were voting for Speakeasy, but they didn't realize that some things were switched around in terms of our voting poll. So I'm not quite sure as to the veracity or the veracity, or the vectors, or the vividness, or the vivacious lead that Regicide seems to have. It is Regicide Legacy that's moving on in a 22-8 vote. Speakeasy is knocked out of the competition. Some people's favorite Lacerda isn't enough to take on a deck of cards. But yeah, it might have gotten screwed up. But it's Regicide Legacy that moves forward, and that's what we're sticking with. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, we have Tycoon India 1981 taking on Formaggio. And Tycoon India is a game that I'm very excited to play. It's still on my shelf of shame. I was sent it by a patron. Shout out to Prodigy, who said, yeah, this seemed like a cool game on Kickstarter, and he wanted to support an Indian company. And I think it looks great. Like, this was my pick of the week for the week at which it was on Crowdfunding Countdown. It is sort of a stock market game where you're investing in building up buildings, you're investing in creating the infrastructure around India, and building yourself up both in sort of economic power, but also political power. And if you win, if you're the top of both of those tracks, you win the game. If you're the top of one of those tracks, you go into a tiebreaker with the top of the other track, and then you face off against just that person in essentially a third track, which I found, I'm hoping will be a very exciting end game scoring condition as well. Because, like, yeah, I don't care if you're really high on that third track. I'm just going to tank you in the other ones. So you can't be the person who I'm facing off with in the tie. Like, and so I think there is the potential for a lot of really interesting and exciting economics that will happen here. I'm very excited to try it. I think it looks really good. I know it will not win this round because it's not on Board Game Arena, and Formaggio is. Formaggio, or maybe, Formaggio isn't on Board Game Arena. Sorry, my apologies. But it is the expansion, the standalone expansion to Fromage, which people are like, hey, I like Fromage. I want 4 new boards, and that's what I'm going to do. In Fromage or Formaggio, Formaggio adds in 4 new boards, which you can kind of mix and match with the original to shake up the mini games that are happening in kind of like a delayed worker placement. You'll place a worker down here, and it'll be activate in either 1, 2, or 3 turns, or you'll get that worker back, and then you get to do an action of that strength. And so you're balancing this cooldown track with what's going to come back to you or not, and then the board rotates, and you can see that whenever your point is pointed at you, well, you're going to get those pieces back. That's how you indicate if it's gone around 1, 2, or 3 circles. I obviously am a huge Tycoon India fan. I think this game should move forward. I think more people should know about this game, and I'm so very excited to eventually get it to the table, and I will. And when I do, I'll have a full review out on the channel so that you all can know if it lived up to my expectations or not. But unfortunately, Formaggio just demolishes Tycoon India and moves forward in like a 20-3 vote. Yeah, going back to Regicide and Speakeasy, it's still Regicide that wins. But people have adjusted their votes. It's Regicide that sort of won in like a 16 or 17 to 14 votes. So much closer, but Regicide Legacy still able to pull it out on top. Just like Formaggio is, and sorry, Tycoon India, you're out of here. Next up, we have Luthier taking on Small Time Heroes. So both of these games look great to me. I've played Luthier. I haven't played Small Time Heroes. Luthier is a game about building instruments. It's from the people that brought you Distilled. And I thought I was going to get a image of the board here. Oh, that one will work. You're going to have this main board where there will be a number of different action spaces. There's some action spaces over here on the left side. In the middle side, there are places where you're going to be putting instruments once you complete stuff. And then there are action spaces on the right side. The sort of key to this game is that everybody is going to place their action discs. And these discs will have a certain power to them from like 1 to 5. This will indicate both the power, the strength at which you can take the action, and when you get to activate it. So anything that is sort of over a 4 will get to take an extra version of that action, a special version of it. And more importantly, it is like whoever is the highest gets to take the first dibs on that card that maybe you desperately want. But there's another thing that's kind of the trick about this, is that once everybody's placed stuff, people will activate things in different order than maybe you want them to. So like you might need to activate the salon and then the guild, but somebody might activate the guild and then you are forced to take your guild action. And so it becomes a real juggle of like, okay, what is the strength that I put down? When do I want to have like first dibs over here? But also like, when do we balance the activations of each one of these things? And so it can really kind of set you out of order in a very exciting way. And it's very satisfying to build your instruments too. You're building your instruments, you're getting patrons who love the stuff that you're playing. You want to satisfy those patrons naturally. Every patron deserves to be satisfied, and that's why I'll do anything for you. Absolutely anything. And I mean anything. Sorry, we're moving forward. Yeah, it's got a great flow to it. It's a really solid game, super fun. It's up against Small Time Heroes though, which does look great. It is a solo, it's a 1 to 2 player game where it's essentially Slay the Spire. It's Slay the Spire, but in a smaller package. You're going through, you're taking out wave after wave of monsters. You have 2 different characters in the box. There's been a new one that's come out recently that's going to have 2 more characters. But essentially you're doing a dungeon run to eventually face against the big bad that you've chosen. Deck building, bringing your cards together, a quick, light thing. And people really love this game. There's been a lot of chatter in this game. Now, I'll tell you, in my Discord, Luthier is goated. You know, people absolutely love Luthier, but there are a lot of votes for Small Time Hero. As I look back now, it's tied. Yeah, and it was tied when it was called. Now, if it is tied, I give it to the game that has the most extra votes. Everybody gets 1 extra vote that they can redeem, and it's only redeemed on if that game is going to win. So that way you can really throw your support behind a game that you love, and you can do that without worrying that you have to play it strategically, right? No strategic voting in the Room and Board Discord. That's just for Canadian politics that Justin Trudeau promised he would fix. Spoiler alert, politicians lie. So it comes down to a 16-16 vote. And so surprisingly, it's Small Time Heroes that eliminates Luthier from the competition. There were some people who didn't get a chance to vote, but for small reasons, like, you know, they had a disastrous event on their house and they were a little bit preoccupied. And I'm sorry, deathmatch rules. You got to vote on the day, but maybe Luthier will come back in the competition because of that fact. Who knows? It definitely will. But Small Time Heroes moves on. I was so surprised that Small Time Heroes was even in contention to dethrone Luthier. And yeah, very exciting. It makes me even more excited about this and this potential for Small Time Heroes as well. It shows it's a good game. Next up, we've got Arydia taking on Naishi. So Arydia, I've talked about a lot on this channel. I feel myself getting more and more long-winded, so I'm going to try to tailor it down. Essentially, it's a big JRPG video game in a board game. That's what it is. You're constantly flipping over tiles and exploring places. And then when you fight, my favorite thing about the fighting is that you have different parts of armor on your body and they're rolling where they hit. and so your armor can sometimes absorb the hits. The combat's very fun. Myself and my friend Zach have been playing through a full campaign of Arydia. We should have more episodes dropping for early access on Patreon. We drop them once a month because we've been playing a little bit more now that I'm back in town for just a tiny little while. But yeah, Arydia's a great game. It's a little bit fiddly with all the cards that you have to manage, but it's pretty great. Now, Naishi, it says that it's 2024, but I'm going to assume that maybe we were talking about the expansion with the 2 modules that came out, or that it like arrived late 2024 and that it was basically played in 2025. It seems like a pretty simple game. You have your own tableau of cards, and you can replace cards from the middle, but they have to keep the same positioning as the ones from the middle. It's not going to win, but it was sort of described as a nice 2-player tableau builder where you don't know if you'll win until the big reveal at the end as you kind of exchange cards amongst each other. But it's clearly Arydia that's going to dominate this competition, although Naishi gets a bunch of votes. 17 to 9 votes, so a lot more than I expected it to. We're moving on. Next up, we've got Emberleaf taking on Unstoppable. So Emberleaf, I thought, looked really neat as well. I remember this from crowdfunding. You are building out this main board, if we get to it, but you're also building out your own tableau, it's called a card dancer is what they're calling it. Essentially, you're going to just be shifting your cards from right to left. When they fall off your board, they go back into your hand. And so you're playing, it's like a cooldown track. It's just a cooldown track, but there are ways that you can kind of shift things to keep things still in contention and still available, which will help you when you're building buildings and expanding your network on this main map, which will get you a bunch of points. I thought it looked cool. I thought it looked quite delightful, actually. I remember it being a pick of the week for me as well. We have Unstoppable, though, which is another deck builder, but it does have a little bit of card crafting in it. So you're crafting your deck as you're going along. You can improve your cards. John D. Clare does a lot of that in his games. And this is John D. Clare, right? I'm not talking out of school, am I? Of course I'm not. I know what I'm talking about. It's this big sort of co-op deck building game as you head forward to defeat a boss. And it's looked good. People were saying good things about it, saying that's really fluid to play. The card upgrading is fun and very impactful, can make for fun combos. Some people were saying Unstoppable got stale for me quickly, though. Some people went for Unstoppable because it's not cute. And people were a little bit disappointed by the variety of bosses. They were saying they think it needs a few more bosses. And so because of that, it's Emberleaf that moves forward in a 17 to 13 vote. Next up, we got Critter Kitchen taking on Point Galaxy. I kind of forgot about both of these games, to be honest. The conceit of Critter Kitchen is that it's a worker placement game, but you have 3 different sizes of worker, and you're gathering ingredients to make kitchen things, also known as recipes and food. Yeah, kitchen things. I'm not an alien, you are. So you have your big boar who takes a long time to get to market, but when he's there, he can carry a lot of stuff home. Or you have your little rat weasel who can only carry one thing home, but he can scurry right up your leg and goes, where'd you come from? And he takes those ingredients home to mama. I think that's the theming of it. It's facing off against Point Galaxy, which is the sort of newest iteration in Point City and Point Salad. I own Point Salad. I think Point Salad is a great game. And what this essentially boils down to is grabbing cards from the middle. Some will be planets, some will be scoring conditions, and you want to get the most for your own scoring conditions that you grab. It's a great quick drafting game as you build out your own city, or rather your own galaxy, or your own salad. This one's pretty close. A lot of undecided voters on this one, but eventually it's Critter Kitchen that moves forward in a 16 to 9 vote. And yeah, I forget what would I be more interested in? I'm interested in Critter Kitchen. I think it looks really neat. It's from the same people who brought you Flamecraft, the same studio rather, but I'm just such a fan of Point Salad that I probably would have gone with Point Galaxy here, but it is Critter Kitchen that does move forward. I gotta remember to say my own opinion, because I'm allowed to have an opinion too, I hope. No, I know I'm not. I'm just a puppet. We're moving on. We've got Lord of the Rings, The Fate of the Fellowship, which is just Lord of the Rings Pandemic, taking on STALKER, or S.T.A.L.K.E.R. the board game. Ugh, so annoying to search because mainly I'm going to blame that on BGG and their horrible search feature that doesn't have a autocorrect and desperately needs one. I don't know how I feel about these two games. I've heard really good things about, I mean, wow, it's moving up. It's friggin' 128 on Board Game Geek right now. That's a lot. I've heard great things about this. It's just Pandemic, but it's Lord of the Rings style. You're going to pick a number of objectives that you have to complete. The game is won if the group destroys the one ring at the end. Right, the objectives deal with collecting certain symbols and getting to certain spots on the map. And eventually destroying the one ring. So it seems cool. Stalker is this sort of, again, an epic campaign game where you are sneaking around trying to listen in to people. So there's a book of scripts where it's like, hey, if you are here for this objective, turn to this page. If you're not, don't turn to this page. And so you gather more information. You have to sneak around the map, take out the baddies or don't. Complete your objectives, get irradiated as well. It has very similar parallels to the theme of Fallout in this sort of post-nuclear apocalypse world. But the main thing here is that you're sneaking and you want to gather information. I feel like this one would work best as a solo game, personally, because there's a lot of sort of script reading, and I find that those games are potentially best at solo. But yeah, this is one that I never was really particularly interested in. I guess between the two, I would be more interested in Lord of the Rings Pandemic than Stalker, and it seems like people agree with me. It is Fate of the Fellowship that moves forward in a 16-8 vote. Next up, and this is a big one, we have Star Trek Captain's Chair taking on Moon Colony Bloodbath. Both of these have made it into the top 1,000 on Board Game Geek, which is pretty impressive for a first year. Star Trek Captain's Chair is one that my Discord have been going crazy about. It is based on sort of the Imperium system, which is like a deck building system. But this one is Star Trek themed, and they say that every card is beautifully thematic, and that the theme of this game sort of oozes through as you go through. It's a little bit long. It's kind of only for 1 to 2 players, really. And everybody is saying that it is best with 1. 50% say it's best with 2. 76% of voters say it's best at 1. You'd probably want somebody who has played the game before if you're going to play it with someone. But yeah, I've been very interested in this game, especially because of how rabid the fan base seems to be as you deal with different threats that are popping up against you, and then simultaneously building your deck to face those threats in a good fashion. People have been really enjoying Moon Colony Bloodbath, though, too, where you just want to survive. You're going to have a tableau of things, and yeah, you have a tableau of people, and you just want your Moon Colony to survive. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to, because it soon will be a bloodbath, and you just have to survive the best that you can. I've heard that's very fun, especially in the sort of later in the night type of games. It's an engine builder that doesn't take itself too seriously, and you're just trying to withstand the storm in a funny way. Now, it was never going to beat Star Trek's Captain's Chair, but it does make a valiant effort, and it is Star Trek Captain's Chair that moves forward in an 18-9 vote. And finally, we are here at the final match, and then we're going to really get cooking. We have Grimcoven taking on Bounce Off 2025. Now, I'll get to Grimcoven in a second, but I wanted to talk to you all about Bounce Off, specifically Bounce Off 2025. I don't know if you knew this, but Bounce Off in 2025 came out with the Bounce Off Giant Edition. And so the higher-ups took this. They're a little bit out of touch because they're rolling in money, obviously, because Bounce Off is one of the most successful board games of all time, and they deserve to be rolling in money for having created this beautiful gem. However, they did make a giant edition, which was very similar to the Survivor Challenge in Survivor Africa, of this one, which was the first challenge. Oh, I should mute this. That Baron won. Spoiler alert. So to be fair to the execs at Bounce Off, Big Bounce Off, physically Big Bounce Off, they were a little bit out of touch. And honestly, I've just gotten amazingly distracted because, oh my God, Bounce Off is sitting at a 5.8. Stop the presses, people. I've never been happier because it's been at a 5.7 for so long. And now it's at a 5.8. And we're sitting at 13,000 overall. I got to check out if there's some new ratings. Oh my goodness gracious. What is this? I'm gonna click on your link, Hextra, unless it goes to a no, it went back to the same. You're just gonna direct me back to Nightcage. Change up your links, and I'll change up this bit. But we've got Scorch saying, or maybe it's Rizgod saying, absolute cinema, 10 out of 10. Scorch, you are absolute cinema, and you are a 10 out of 10. This is like the best day of my life. Peter R is saying it's so good that it's become a catchphrase. Bounce off, you know? It very well could be. Fantastic. El Hona is saying, giving it a 5. Well, we need to translate this. My Spanish is very rusty in that I don't speak anything other than grade 10 Spanish, and it's not French, which roughly translates to, it's just okay. My first experience was a 6.5 or even a solid 7, but the second game I played made me realize its flaws. It was ridiculously long. Okay, maybe it's ridiculously long if you suck. Okay, maybe if you're bad, maybe get good. Okay, maybe you could be a 10 out of 10. El Hona, whatever your name was. It was ridiculously long. We had to start taking balls that were already in the center because we were simply blocked and couldn't form the patterns to win. It went from being a good option for parties to a title I will rarely consider bringing out again. You know what I'm going to rarely consider bringing out again? This review. Yes! Yes, PV Pal! 1221. I love it. This does need to be much higher. It's a 10 out of 10. Is it my birthday? My birthday was last month. Well, I guess it would have been around my birthday when I should have been filming this. Legends say, Drumoth or Drumoth or Drumoth, if you're nasty, say that if you rate this game a 10 and say Slippery Jim's 3 times in a mirror, it guarantees that your comment will be cemented into a YouTube video by some obscure Canadian man. Legends are right. The legends are coming true. Oh, this is such a good day. Moxie Girl also rates it a 10 out of 10 when it's when it's too wet for cornhole and marbles, and when it's too hot to play field games. This is fantastic. There is a dining table and bounce off. One should not go past the strategic, tactical, ball placement, area control, contract fulfillment, 10 out of 10 game. If you like to play with balls, this one's for you. That is an 11 out of 10 review. I gotta say, Moxie Girl. I'm booking me a trip to New Zealand, and we're gonna play Bounce Off together. Oh, fantastic. Jimmy says 10 out of 10. I can no longer think or speak straight. My entire cognitive process is now parabolic. I am the bounce. Hey, you do what you gotta do. You give up certain faculties when you give over to the bounce, and it's worth it, okay? It's absolutely worth it. And finally, Sean. Oh, Sean, I can't believe you. This is the first time you've rated this. I put off playing this for far too long, only denying myself the pleasure. It shall be a lifetime of regret. Yes, it will, having wasted so much time without it. Don't make the same mistake. The balls must bounce. This, people, I don't know. If you've ever seen what pure joy looks like, okay? I was playing it straight this whole time. I was just relaxed. I was just like, okay, I gotta announce the results. But you know the pep that has been put into my step right now? This is the face of pure joy. And for just a 10 out of 10 a day, or just once only, for Bounce Off, you too can provide such joy. Oh, these legends, okay? These legends, Scorch, Peter, PV Pal, Drumoth, Moxie Girl, Jimmy, Sean, you have all achieved legend status. I dub thee better than any of your peers, okay, who haven't rated a 10 out of 10. The only way for them to ever top you would be to rate it a 10 out of 10, and then, you'd both be great, and you'd all be legends, and that would be fine. But for these other people, these other fools, these pathetic cretins down here, like Wilt, who has wronged me more than once in my life, especially with Pocketpedia coming up, and Hextra, and Cha. What sort of a name is Cha? Huh? And my Nemesis. It's going to take a long time to get down to my Nemesis, Arkansoni. There's my Nemesis, Arkansoni. My Nemesis. My Nemesis. Give a true blue 10 out of 10 to Bounce Off. This is just the greatest day. Bounce Off, unfortunately, has been eliminated from the competition because the giant Bounce Off edition was way too big, and the balls are now sort of being collected off the coast of Hawaii and are creating their own island nation. But Well, stay tuned. Maybe it will be in the next Deathmatch. I can almost guarantee that it will. What a freaking day. Oh, the joy I have experienced in my life leading up until now has never been equal to this. I think we've hit everybody. We're hitting almost an all-time high here, okay? We're hitting a high that's never been hit since September 2022. We're hitting a 4-year high is what's happening right now. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think we can achieve peak status like Bounce Off used to be up in the 6,000s, and it's gone down drastically because more games have been created and added to Board Game Geek, and that's actually the reason why it's always gone down. It's just only been on a downward spiral. I believe in us, and if you haven't gone and rated an honest 10 out of 10 to Bounce Off at Board Game Geek, what are you doing? Come on. I know you have. Although I don't know you have. These videos get at least about, 1,000 views, and I don't see 1,010 ratings. I see 38. I see 38. You want to see disappointment? You want to know what pure disappointment is? After pure unbridled joy? It looks like this. I'm disappointed in you. So we're going to replace it, and we are going to replace it with Luthier to give Luthier a second chance because, yes, some people's houses were having horrible things done to them, and not in the good way where you want horrible things done to you. No, in the bad way where it's just like horrible things and you're losing your whole board game collection, that sort of thing. So they didn't get to vote, but the best thing, the biggest consolation is to put your favorite game back in the deathmatch, and so Luthier is going to face off against Grimcoven, which is another game that I have in Shrink right now, but I'm very excited to check out, is this sort of miniature boss battling style game. You're taking the role of a hunter that is fueled by lament, which is like me when Bounce Off doesn't get 10s out of 10s. But the goal is you're facing off against one of these big bad bosses. There'll be spots on the map. You're going to try to manipulate the map, teleporting across the map, building up lament, getting extra dice, and using those dice to take out the bosses. I thought it looked cool. I'm very interested to try it out, and there will be sort of a full review on it when I get my act together and play it. There's like a roguelike aspect to it as well, which I think is cool. And like Awakened Realms, their minis are just friggin' off the chain. It's been doing pretty well in terms of ratings. Not as good as Bounce Off. But this is Luthier's second chance at glory in this competition. And so because we do have a lot of Luthier fans, unfortunately Grimcoven is out of the competition as quickly as it came. And it is Luthier that moves forward in a 20-10 vote. Now we will be back into the round of 16. Well, we're almost covered everything other than the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, which is going to be taking on Corpse of Discovery. But I have to go do some playtesting for my neighbor and not friend, so I'll be back once I'm done that. You didn't need to know this, but I still need to say it, because I can't just stop myself. And then I'll delete it in the edit, and then no one will know. No one will know that I have these conversations with myself. Hello, future Chris. I hope your editing is going well. Don't you fall asleep now. I know sometimes your voice literally puts you to sleep, and that isn't a good sign for the longevity of your YouTube channel. But you know what? Here's an attaboy for you. You keep doing it, and that's nice. All right, we're on to the round of 16 with Core of Discovery taking on the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. We're going to really motor now. Again, I've talked a lot about the Elder Scrolls on this channel. I have a full review of Elder Scrolls, and it's good. Honestly, owning the Elder Scrolls makes me want to own a board game table. Like, this is one of the main reasons why I want to get a board gaming table. And it is because the Elder Scrolls, because I think that it's so good at staying out on your table and just sort of chipping away at it. Whereas engaging with it for a long period of time, I'm less interested in that. But I know there's big love for the Elder Scrolls in my Discord. Everybody's pretty excited about the expansion content that's coming down the way. And so I really expect this to obliterate Core of Discovery. And so imagine my surprise when the Elder Scrolls loses to Core of Discovery in a 19-15 vote. It's eliminated from the competition. The core loop of the Elder Scrolls is you're going to have a map, you're going to move on that map, you're going to have an encounter. Sometimes the encounter deals with combat, which will take place on a smaller board. Sometimes you're delving, which you're flipping over tiles. And sometimes you're just having encounters, all as you raise your stats and get specialized dice that you can roll in each encounter and face off against people, along with this cooldown track down here. You get to cool down a certain amount of dice every round, and so you want to keep cycling your dice, etc. But it doesn't matter. I don't even know why I'm explaining it to you. It burns for all eternity. CTG, Chip Theory Games, their games may be waterproof, but they aren't immune to burning up in the deathmatch. As Core of Discovery, so very surprisingly, I'm so surprised that it moves on, but it moves on into the next round. So now we're back. Now we're with things that we have seen before. We have Shallow Sea taking on Flamecraft duels. And this is interesting. It's kind of a battle between abstract games. We have like Cascadia taking on Neotopia. Kind of reminds me of Neotopia because you're arranging stuff in patterns. I think the art just draws people in more for Flamecraft than the actual gameplay. And I think the gameplay of Shallow Sea looks solid. So if I had to pick between the two of these, I would pick Shallow Sea. So does the community. The community votes this through on a 20-9 vote. Flamecraft Duels is out in the second round. We're going to keep it moving to Old King's Crown versus Sweetlands. And this is a tough one. I expect Old King's Crown to move forward here just because of how it has been spoken about. Both of them are outside the top 1,000 on Board Game Geek, both sitting around that 8.2, 8.1 rating, and both with a similar complexity. Sweetlands being a little bit more complex, sitting at that 4 complexity level. This is a close vote. This is a very close vote. It comes down to 15-12 for one of these players. If I had to pick, I don't know, I'd probably pick Sweetlands between the two in terms of ones that I would be more interested in. I think I maybe Old King's Crown I am sleeping on. In fact, I imagine I am, that it's maybe better than I think it will be, but it's all going to be very group dependent. And I think Sweetlands, the action selection, while it didn't blow me away when I read through the rulebook, it looks fun. So I would go for Sweetlands here. The community also goes for Sweetlands, and it is Old King's Crown that is eliminated from the competition. Now this is going to be a pretty big battle. We have Nemesis Retaliation taking on Regicide Legacy. And this is tough. Like before, if I hadn't played Nemesis Retaliation, I probably would give my vote for Nemesis Retaliation, and I'd be excited and I would want to push it forward. But having played Nemesis Retaliation and having it be a little bit of a letdown, again, for the reasons that we talked about earlier, and having such a surprising enjoyment of Regicide Legacy, like I would have poo-pooed this. I would have been, it's just a deck of cards. It's just tower defense, who cares? But I really like all the stuff that they have added in. I think the production quality on Regicide Legacy was really good. Yeah, I was really, really impressed. It was one of those things where I was delighted by the playmat, the production quality, and the gameplay itself. It exceeded my expectations, whereas Nemesis Retaliation didn't really meet my expectations. But it doesn't matter what I say. The community matters what they say. It's also, I was scrolling through what the community was saying too, and this is a really good point about Regicide Legacy. It's a great example of fairly rules light and drop in and drop out. Lots of agency and options for strategy. A perfect bait game to rope in family members for a couple of rounds, but you're not tied to a specific group for the Legacy experience. And I think that is huge. Like that should not be understated. My group for Pandemic Legacy, oh man, I would like to organize it, but I don't have many months left, and most of these weeks are accounted for now. Time left in the city. Like, I only have a couple months left in Toronto before I have to leave again for 7 months. Oh, it's tough being on the road. So I don't know when I'm going to get Pandemic Legacy Season 1 finished, but I will. However, I think Regicide Legacy shouldn't be understated. That is such a boon to a Legacy game that you can play it with more than one group of people. I think that is awesome, and maybe more games should do that and have an easy way to do that. I think a lot of games are doing that now, that like you can just drop in characters or add in characters and they just kind of level up to where you are. But a way to just drop in instantly and have the Legacy elements be more like modules, I think is a great boon to Regicide Legacy. So I'm very happy that it is Regicide Legacy that moves forward in a 15-11 vote. I think the right one is moving forward here. Nemesis Retaliation, it's okay, but hey, maybe Nemesis Legacy will be better. I will be looking forward to trying that out. You know, hopefully they'll send me a little preview copy. I'll talk to them about that. Moving on, we've got Formaggio taking on Small Time Heroes. Now, I have to assume that Small Time Heroes is going to win here. Small Time Heroes looks great. It's a small Slay the Spire style game like we were talking about. I think it looks really good. Although Fromage is one of those games that really took hold of people in a big way, and getting new mini games and new options to mix and match with Formaggio feels like it could have some value as well. And this is very close. It's a very close vote. It falls down to 18 to 16 votes, actually. And surprisingly, it is Formaggio that beats Small Time Heroes. I thought Small Time Heroes would win for sure just because it took out Luthier. So how is it not going to go on a friggin' run? But it's gone. It's out of the competition. It knocked out one of the biggest competitors in the competition, only to then fall in the next round. Formaggio and its accessible, quick gameplay with worker placement, delayed worker placement, moves on into the next round. Next up, we have Arydia taking on Emberleaf. This is an interesting one. I mean, I've played a lot of Arydia so far. I've enjoyed playing Arydia, but I do think that the card dancing of Emberleaf looks fun. I think this has a lot of merit to it, and there's something to be said for not just another campaign game as well. So I can see this happening, but Arydia also is a very, very slick campaign. There's a reason why people have enjoyed it. It's moving up on the charts. It's 417. That's really good. It's rated a 9.0. on this. I would rate it, what would I rate it right now? Yeah, I'd probably rate it a 9 as well. I'd say it's, according to BGG, excellent. I very much enjoy playing. I still have to be in the right mood for it, but yeah, it's really a phenomenal game. And is a really nice campaign game that I have thoroughly enjoyed playing through, although I've enjoyed filming our playthroughs as well. That's part of the enjoyment of my own experience. So what did the vote come down to? Yeah, it is Arydia that moves forward in a 17 to 14 vote. It was a very close vote, though, but Emberleaf falls to the behemoth of a campaign game. Moving on, we've got Critter Kitchen taking on The Lord of the Rings, The Fate of the Fellowship. And I imagine Fate of the Fellowship will win here. Between the two, I think I might be a little bit more inclined for Critter Kitchen. I like worker placement games a lot. I like the core conceit of this game that you have to time out and guess or analyze or anticipate where your opponents are going to be going. So I think that's cool. Yeah, so I think I would enjoy that maybe more than this new take on Pandemic, but it does seem different enough from Pandemic, right? It seems like it is really shaking up the system a lot more than I expected. You still have to go to different places, but you do get that feeling of the Lord of the Rings, which is a fun feeling to get. I expect Fate of the Fellowship will move forward here, and it does in a 20 to 12 vote. Goodbye, Critter Kitchen. We never knew you. You should have played your quicker meeple to get all those votes. And now we've got a big one here. We've got Star Trek Captain's Chair taking on Luthier again. Luthier has come back into the competition to face probably one of the front runners to win this game or win this death match. And this is a big matchup. This is a really close one. There were a lot of extra votes that were flying. It came down to a 25 to 22 vote. But in the end, the community voted for Star Trek Captain's Chair to move forward. Unfortunately, Luthier is removed once again from the competition, never to return. And it's Star Trek's Captain's Chair that moves on. So we've reached our final 8. We're now down to the final 8. We have Core of Discovery, Corpse of Discovery, sorry, my apologies, taking on Shallow Sea. Again, I'm very surprised Core of Discovery has made it this far, but it might make it even further. I think the abstract nature of Shallow Sea is going to help it, and I also think that the production quality is going to help it as well. So again, it's a very close vote. What I really like is there haven't been, other than that one shutout, there haven't been too many really blow away votes, and this is no different. It comes down to an 18 to 15 vote between the two. But again, it's Corpse of Discovery that moves forward into the next round, into the semifinals. Shallow Sea is eliminated from the competition, which I thought was a very shocking outcome. But I've been shocked by Core of Discovery consistently. So it moves into the semifinals. Now we have Sweetlands taking on Regicide Legacy. Again, probably just because I've played it, I would vote for Regicide Legacy here. I've read through the rulebook of Sweetlands. I think I see the potential for fun. I think both of these are great games. But between the two, again, I was just so delighted and surprised by the gameplay flow of Regicide Legacy. I really, really enjoyed it. People are saying about Sweetlands that it's a cross of Terra Mystica and Terraforming Mars that you never knew you needed. That itch is mostly multiplayer solitaire. and long is the itch that it scratches. But yeah, a really nice blend between those two things. And so there was a lot of back and forth in the Discord about Regicide Legacy and Sweetlands, the value of Regicide Legacy. It's also decently expensive for the cards, but again, I think it provides a really nice experience. However, it doesn't matter. You will never get a copy because it's burnt for all eternity, and it is Sweetlands that moves forward into the next round in a 20-12 vote. A pretty dominant performance by Sweetlands, people enjoying the stuff from Uchibakoya. Moving on, we have Formaggio taking on Arydia, the paths we dare tread. We added in a new rule, a brief rule that didn't really take hold as I expected it to, but a brief rule was added as to what box a cat would like best. If you were undecided between the two, you could vote for that, and I would just decide which box a cat would like best. I think a cat would like Formaggio a little bit better because Arydia's got a huge box, and I know cats like to be confined. But yeah, it was very close. Another very close vote. A lot of votes were thrown down. It was 25-21 was the final vote. And Formaggio is finally knocked out of the competition. Arydia proving why it deserves to be known and earning its price point. People are really enjoying this game, and it moves on into the semifinals. And then finally, we have Lord of the Rings, The Fate of the Fellowship, taking on Star Trek Captain's Chair. Two acronyms, two IPs, two beloved IPs, but which one will the Force benefit more? Will the Sith Lords support? Will the Jedi help? It's Lord of the Rings or it's Star Trek taking each other out. And this one isn't very close. Star Trek Captain's Chair blows Fate of the Fellowship out of the water and moves into the semifinals in a 24-11 vote. So we are finally here. We are here at the semifinals. We have Core of Discovery taking on Sweetlands, taking on Arydia, taking on Star Trek Captain's Chair. Now, I should note at this time that I didn't include two huge inclusions into the mix. Two giant snubs that happened that I left out of the 2025, one being Galactic Cruise, the second being How to Save a World. Both of these were the final matchup for our Champion of Champions deathmatch in December that just happened. So to end the year of 2025, we want to crown the Champion of 2025. And both of these were added in as wild cards because people in the Discord have been talking about them a lot. How to Save a World is designed by my neighbor and not friend Yuval, who I was just playtesting his newest game that's coming out. It's called Arydia, and it's being published by Capstone. It's about building a city. And man, we had a fun playtesting session. I once again broke the game for all of your benefit. We went through all the asymmetric player boards and we read them all out, and I said, I'd like to take that one because that one is the one that's broken, and I will prove it to you in this playtesting session. And I did, and so that was very fun. But I think it's going to be a great game. So yeah, Yuval has been doing such a great job, and if he keeps it up, he might earn the status of friend from me, but maybe not. I don't know. It's tenuous. And then we also didn't include Galactic Cruise because it won outright. So these were the final two, and they deserve honorable mentions in this video. I meant to mention them at the beginning, but I'm going to mention them now because you're here at the semifinal. We deserve to talk about them, but they are not eligible for the win. But these four games are, and we're going to start with Core of Discovery taking on Sweetlands. Again, now I expect Core of Discovery to win here because it has been winning in the things that I did not expect it to win. You know, I thought it would be out in the first round, quite honestly, but it has taken out a lot of really great games, just proving how much people are enjoying this game. Can it take out Sweetlands, though? It comes down to a 19-16 vote. And it can. People decided to take out Sweetlands and move Core of Discovery moving forward. People love this game. This is surprising. It's in the finals. I can't believe how much people love this game. And on the other side of the bracket, we have another huge matchup. We have Arydia taking on Star Trek's Captain's Chair. I think we might be Arydia'd out at this point because people have been playing it and maybe their thoughts have cooled on it. But so many people have been playing the campaign almost to its completion as well, which is a huge boon for a campaign, a huge feather in its cap that people are playing it and they continue to play it and not just dropping off as well. I find that that's very easy to happen in this day and age. Star Trek Captain's Chair, though, is providing the most game session reports in our Discord out of any game, I feel. And this one also is a pretty close vote. It's coming down to 19 to 16 when I'm checking it now. I don't know what it was because I didn't write it down, but it's 19 to 16 for one of these winners. Again, a really close vote. And Arydia is eliminated from the competition, and Star Trek Captain's Chair moves on into the finals. So we have our final two, Core of Discovery, the deduction game where you are trying to piece together what the map will look like, taking on Star Trek's Captain's Chair, where you take your crew and your captain and try to assemble the best deck and deal with all the threats that have come before. It came down to a pretty decent vote. The final vote is 22 to 15 for one of these games, but eventually we were left with only one winner. This winner took out Moon Colony Bloodbath. They took out Luthier. They took out Fate of the Fellowship. They stomped on Arydia and finally made it to the finals to take out the Core of Discovery. Core of Discovery ends its magical run here, and Star Trek Captain's Chair is crowned our best game of 2025. Suck it, Galactic Cruise and How to Save a World. You weren't invited to the party, but you do get honorable mentions. But huge shout out goes to Star Trek Captain's Chair, and it's very fitting. I think, like I said, there are so many people going through their games and talking about their game sessions and what they did on their solo game of Star Trek Captain's Chair. People are getting this game. They're loving it. They're really enjoying it. So if you're a friggin' Trekkie and you're a solo gamer, highly, highly recommend, based upon my community's feedback, to get Star Trek Captain's Chair, get that into your collection. If you like heavy, long, complicated solo games, well, this one is for you. Thanks everybody for watching. That is our best of 2025 Deathmatch. Next month's Deathmatch, which has already completely happened, was the best expansion that redeems its game. That'll be out later this month. And then if you would like, you can sign up for the Room and Board Patreon and participate in the daily voting. The current theme that we are voting on is Best Game That Needs a Reprint. We're talking about all of our beloved games that need a reprint. If you want your game to be featured, your favorite games to be featured in the tournament bracket and participate in the voting, you can do so at Patreon. Sign up for Patreon. You can support the channel. It's a couple bucks a month. You're paying me less than 25 cents a video, like the gumball machine of a human being that I am. And you get to participate in a very cool community, whom I love and cherish very deeply, who boldly go where no man has gone before, into my heart. Thanks everybody for watching. My name is Chris George. I do not have a catchphrase, but as they say in Vulcan, you're a wizard, Jedi.